So I think we can all agree, or I think we're all aware, that men are very visual, right? And a lot of men want to feel physically attracted to their partner. However, even though physical attraction can open the door or get you in the room, doesn't necessarily keep you there. It's not enough, right? Not when we're talking about having long-lasting relationships. And so knowing how to turn a man on emotionally, or knowing what turns a man on emotionally, what creates that greater level of emotional bonding and desire for you, is going to be very important, right? And a very useful thing for you to be aware of. And so I want to break this down, but let me say this. Some of the things I'm going to mention today, like, I may not fully agree. So there's some things that one of my team members kind of gathered and they kind of presented to me, and I said, okay, I'm going to break this down and discuss it, right? So just be aware of that, be mindful of that. But let's talk about some of these things that may be floating out there, as well as some of the things that I believe will turn a man on emotionally. So the first thing I want to discuss is withholding intimacy. Okay. So let me say this. One, I think for anyone who is a believer, right? I think all believers know that we are called to wait till marriage. Okay? Now, though we are called, many don't answer that call, or they hung up the phone a long time ago. Right? And I'm not here to judge, because I'm not perfect neither. But because of that, because of the way dating is, right? A lot of people go into dating already with, in the back of their mind, this belief or this perception that intimacy kind of goes along with that process. At some point in the dating experience, okay? Some, it might not be till they're officially in a relationship. Some may be before, some may be till marriage. Either way, the whole idea of withholding intimacy to turn him on emotionally, I don't necessarily agree with that for that purpose. This is not about the spiritual aspect of this. From looking at it simply from, does it turn a man on emotionally to withhold intimacy? No. But let me say this. It will allow it, by not engaging in intimacy, you will give yourself and that man a greater chance of seeing if you guys have something of substance here. Okay? So it's not necessarily a turn on, right? And I'll get more into that in a second. But it is a best practice, because what people have to recognize and acknowledge is that intimacy has clouded a lot of people's judgment. Intimacy has led to people holding on to individuals they should have let go of a long time ago, okay? So it can definitely throw things off. Now, some people would argue, well, listen, I know couples, and I do personally know couples who they may have had, they lay down with each other the first night and end up being married, happily married. Okay, yeah, that can happen, right? But that doesn't mean it's the best way to go about it. It doesn't mean it's the most efficient approach. You know what I'm saying? Some people are fortunate, but for every one story of success, I can give you thousands more that failed miserably, right? So we don't want to push that as the way to do things, so to speak. If you do, that's on you, but that's not, again, the best approach to take. But when we introduce intimacy into the situation, again, sometimes it can cause people to overlook red flags. It can cause people to start to focus more on that rather than, can we communicate well with each other? Do we truly get along with each other? You know, things of that nature. Now, I will say this. It's hitting my spirit, so I have to mention it. I didn't want to mention it, but I have to. This is also going to, how it's received, a woman withholding intimacy from a man, right? How that's received is also going to depend on that man's perception of you. Meaning, One, I do believe that when a man is seriously interested in a woman, at the very least, he is more flexible and patient with her. I'm not going to sit here and say he 100% can go without it, no problem, because if he hasn't been living that life, if he's never been abstinent in his life or anything like that, well, it's going to be a tough pill to swallow. But I think he's not going to simply run right away if he really thinks there's some serious potential here, right? Whereas another guy, if he's just viewing this as, I just want someone I can have fun with, companionship, or someone that I can sleep with, well then, yeah, that's going to run him off. And for you, that's not going to be a bad thing if you embrace, not engaging in intimacy, because that helps weed some people out. Also, when I said it's going to depend on his perception of you. So one is the perception of, do I see this woman as potentially someone I can actually seriously be with, or someone I'm just trying to enjoy my time with? But also for some men out there, and I think you could probably put this in the category of, chances are he did not view this as some serious potential to begin with, but it's the fact that you've probably seen on the internet where, if let's say you've had kids before, let's say he knows or he believes you have a past where you've engaged in intimacy plenty of times. Now when you come to him, you're like, nah, I don't want to do this. He may take issue with that. Not that that should stop you. I'm just explaining that, yeah, there's going to be some men that's like, oh, so now that you come to me, now it's off the table. And for some guys, another reason why withholding intimacy doesn't automatically turn him on, right, is because for some guys, it's the intimacy that makes them feel more secure that you're actually interested in them, that you are attracted to them, right? And they don't have to fear if they move forward with you, this becoming an issue. At least they don't believe they have to. Because one of the biggest hindrances or concerns that men have when it comes to getting married is the message that's been given to them that intimacy goes out the door after marriage, right? That's what a lot of people are conveying to men who are single. And so that adds to a man's fears, which then it's like he needs evidence, or what people call the test drive, before we seriously get with each other. Now, I'll say this. If it's a younger couple, it may be different, right? If we go a lot younger, college, things like that, depending on background, like there's a lot of different factors that will determine if the withholding of intimacy is going to, in any way, turn him on or gain his respect or anything like that. So I think the best thing with this is to understand you got to do it for you, not based on the man. If you are going to be abstinent, it's for you. If you are going to refrain from engaging in certain intimate acts, you have to do it because that's for you. That's what you're comfortable with. That's what you have decided is best for you. But I wouldn't want you to do it with the idea of, oh, this will win me points with the guy, because it can go in so many different directions. All right, so now here's definitely, in my opinion, an interesting way to turn a guy on emotionally that I feel is going to work very well. And that is being very transparent and specific, okay? Now, I know there's a lot of women who feel like men are the ones who struggle with being honest or transparent when dating or in relationships. And of course, there are tons of men that would be true for, right? But I think a lot of women overlook the fact that that complaint is being made by a lot of men as well in regards to women. This idea that women expect a man to read her mind. Okay? And the reason why being more transparent and specific is such a turn on emotionally is because when you're taking the approach that he has to read your mind, that creates frustration, that creates a lack of peace, right? And that can lead to a lot of unnecessary mistakes, misunderstandings, misinterpretations. Because unfortunately, He can't. He can't read your mind. Some guys may be very good at picking up on little cues and catching little things. They may be gifted in that area, or they may have known you long enough to learn you. So for example, if a guy was your friend for a while and then you guys decided to date, well, he may have enough experience with you where it's easier for him to do that. Whereas a new guy who genuinely likes you struggles in that area, both because maybe that's not his strong suit and because he hasn't known you long enough yet to get that in tune, okay? So when you can be more transparent and don't put the man in a position that he has to guess, interpret, analyze, that gives peace. So whenever you hear me or anyone say, you be a man's peace, and of course I always say you got to be your own peace first. But part of being that man's peace is creating an environment where it's not a guessing game. It's not I have to try to read you and take a guess and hope I'm right. Because again, if I guess wrong, I don't get the benefit of the doubt of, oh, well, you didn't know, so okay, we'll just try it again. No, if the wrong guess can be detrimental, okay? So talk. And notice I said it's not just be transparent, it's be specific. Because again, I cannot tell you how many times I've talked to men, married men even, and they'll say they're having a problem with their wife. And they will say to me, if I just knew what she wanted, I would do it. Like I ask her to tell me and she doesn't tell me what it is. And I understand there's a lot of women who feel like, well, why should I have to tell you if you don't take time to figure it out for yourself? Like, how much do you actually care about me? I get how some women view it that way, but unfortunately, a lot of men are not equipped with that natural skill and they need more specific guidance. The key is their willingness to embrace what you need, their willingness to make the necessary adjustments and pour into you. And that will be made 100 times easier by being specific. So what do I mean when I say specific? If you tell a man, for example, let's just say you're dating a guy and you guys see each other once a week, all right? For you, your true desire is to see him, and I'm just using an example, 4 times a week, right? Let's say you want to see your man consistently, but you say to him, we don't spend enough time together. I don't see you enough. He says, okay, cool, I'll do better. He goes from 1 time to 2 times, all right? Now in his head, I made the adjustment. I'm giving you more time. I'm doing my part. But you may still be left feeling frustrated and not getting what you need because what you were really looking for was 4 times a week. But had you discussed that, that might have been easily fixed. Had he been made aware that that was the actual desire, oh, okay, cool. Or there would have been a discussion where he would have said, you know what? I understand you need 4 times. My schedule doesn't allow it. Can we do 3 times, right? And if that actually can work for you, okay, cool. We come to a compromise. Everyone's happy. We're good. So specific, transparent, definitely is a turn on for a man emotionally because it creates more peace and less frustration. All right, so let's keep this thing going. And another interesting way to turn a man on emotionally is to be an encourager, not a destroyer. Here's what I mean. So I remember one guy, I wish I remember the exact words he used. Oh, I think he said, he had regretted getting married because ultimately he married a dream killer. All right. Everything that he wanted to do, all his desires, all his dreams, she always had a negative thing to say about it. And it was always coming down on him in a way that just destroyed him, broke him down, and held him back from doing the things that he really felt passionate about. And that weighed on him heavily. And I think that a lot of women may not understand how negative they may be, right? And it may not be intentional or anything malicious, right? And I feel the need to say some of you may not have realized that your mother, your father, somebody in your family was that way to you. And now you've become that person and you're that way to others, to where you're overly pessimistic. You're always looking at things from the negative point of view. Now, for some of you, you may say, no, I'm not being negative, I'm being real. And it's like, sometimes it's actually negative, okay? There's nothing wrong with considering or being mindful of the potential pitfalls and planning and covering all our bases when we're discussing certain things and potential moves that we want to make. But one, it starts with the energy in which you speak, right? The spirit in which you speak. Are you speaking in a way that I'm showing you this potential downfall so we can find a better way to get to where you want to get to? Or I'm presenting these negative sides, these possible traps, because I'm essentially stopping you from even considering this, okay? Because here's the difference. Even if you think something isn't the best thing to do, it's better to show someone why this is not maybe the best thing rather than just shooting it down. So let me give you an example. Let's say I have a son and my son wants to be an NBA player, right? But my son is 5'2", slow as hell, right? Can't shoot for nothing, okay? But for some reason, he got a dream to be a basketball player. Rather than me saying, man, you are 5'2", you can't shoot, you are slow, what are you talking about? No, you're not going to play no basketball. Instead, I can say, hey, listen, this is what you're going to be up against. Understand, can you keep up with these types of guys? Are you prepared to put in this type of work? Like laying out for him the reality of the situation. And what you'll find is he might be like, dang, you know what? Yeah, that probably won't work. Let me look into something else. But he gets to walk away from it not feeling something negative, but feeling enlightened, like, oh, okay, now I see things differently, and I realize this ain't the way to go. That's very different from just piling on him and coming down on him all the negatives about why he shouldn't do this or why he can't. So it's the same thing when you talk to your man, when you talk to your partner, or anybody for that matter, is are you speaking it as an encourager or a destroyer, all right? Because the woman who can speak as an encourager, who can, one, let the man express himself, hear him out, right? Because there's a lot of men who feel like they can't open up to their woman because she's always quick to dismiss them and shut them down. So when you show you're a woman that's willing to listen, willing to encourage, but again, can still shed light on potential pitfalls, that is a turn on emotionally because that allows him to feel safe. That allows him to feel more comfortable opening up to you. That allows him to view you as a good source of feedback and to a certain extent guidance, right? Like I know she's going to give me good, healthy perspective, but she's still going to talk to me in a way that embraces what I have a desire for right now, so to speak. So learning how to speak in that way, learning how to be more of an encourager is definitely going to be a turn on for a man emotionally. All right, so before we get to this next one, I want to give you an opportunity to join my special coaching program. Go to receivingmyblessings.com or click the link in the description or in the comments section. It's an amazing program that's going to teach you how to heal, attract relationship-minded men, how to hear God more clearly, finding your purpose, you name it. I was going to say finding your purpose, you name it. It's all there. It's helped thousands of women, and I want it to be impactful for you, right? So again, click the link in the description or in the comment section, or go to receivingmyblessings.com. So the next point I want to make, or next interesting way for a woman to turn a man on emotionally, is to show concern and care for his well-being, okay? I feel the need to start off by saying it like this. I wasn't planning on it, but let me just do that. You know, the reality is that there's a level of mother energy that a man appreciates from a woman, okay? Now, I don't want you to view that or hear that and think of the man who just wants to be coddled and everything done for him and all that kind of stuff. Not in an unhealthy, we're not talking about the unhealthy version of this. The healthy version where that nurturing, making sure he's good, really showing that he cares, that she cares, and a woman that has his back. Okay? And being able to show care and concern for his well-being goes a long way. Because again, what a lot of women don't realize is that due to the nature of the dating process, typically being about a man pursuing the woman or a man showing the woman that he's worthy and he's into her and all these things, it's very easy to get so lost in that the woman doesn't realize she's not reciprocating that energy, or she's not doing the little things that he needs to feel like she's the right one for me. Some guys may not get that from a woman, that concern for his well-being, that love, and still get with her because they're caught up in their infatuation. You know, they're so obsessed with getting this specific woman that they overlook these things, but then they end up being very unhappy in a marriage when they realize it's not coming out of her, regardless. Like that, she never had it to give it to him, at least specifically. But it is a need. It is a huge need, right? And it is a huge turn on emotionally, because there's a lot of men who feel like women can be very selfish and that everything's about the woman and everything's about the woman's happiness. You even have men who reject the saying, happy wife, happy life. Okay? Now, let me make clear. I believe in happy wife, happy life. But I understand that I believe in it because my perception of it is different. A lot of men reject it because what they're being shown is happy wife, happy life is all about making sure she's good even at the expense of his peace and happiness, right? It's all about just giving her what she wants. And it's like now he's left out in the cold. That's not how I see it. I view happy wife, happy life as if you are with a woman who truly loves you, and you are creating an environment for her to have her peace, her love, for her to feel secure and safe, she's going to want to pour that back into you times 10. Okay? So I do believe, and I also believe that the energy of the woman, if she's happy in the house, the whole house wins. The kids will win, the husband will win, everybody wins when the woman is happy and she genuinely loves the man, because it's a whole different ball game if she's there for other reasons, okay? But even though I believe in that, I do believe that that mentality sometimes causes people to forget, but you got to make sure the man's happy too. So again, being mindful of his well-being. How does he feel? What does he need? You know, some women love when a man texts them maybe on the way there, are you hungry? You need any food? That's like beautiful words of love to some women, right? But guess what? There's men who want that too. And you showing that you cared and making sure that he's straight, he's taken care of, is a very, very powerful thing, okay? And again, I have to say this before we move on to the next point. It's so powerful because it's not the common experience for a lot of men. That's one of the big reasons why this is so huge. Because again, a lot of men find themselves in positions where it's all about what he does for her. So when he finds a woman that is just as much into him and taking care of him in that way as he is for her, that's it. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. All right. So another great, interesting way to turn a man on emotionally is to make him feel valued in your life. All right. So I'm sure many of you have heard or maybe even experienced where you come across men who feel like if they're not needed, if there's no value for them, it's like, why am I here? Okay. And a lot of men struggle with that. And some women may view that as, all right, well, that's a personal problem for him. And why does he need to feel needed by me? You may view that in a negative way. But the reality is that anyone who has genuine interest in you, anyone who genuinely cares about you, wants to be able to pour into you, right? And one of the ways that a man is able to pour into a woman is to provide, to protect, right? And providing isn't simply about money. It's about ways that I can take burdens off your back, ways that I can do for you to show you that I care, right? It is his expressions of love and desire for you. And when you're not allowing that to be there, that chokes out his ability to love you, essentially. Okay. And I think that it's a normal thing for everyone, because the reality is that for a lot of women, when they don't feel valued in a relationship, where they don't feel like there's any way that they can bring something to a man, that makes them feel inadequate. That makes them feel like I don't have any place here, or why even question, why would he want me? Like, it can throw things off. So the reality is that both sides want to feel like they fit into that other person's life somewhere. And they can say, this is the role that I play. This is the part that I play in this person's life. That, of course, this person appreciates and sees the value in. Okay? So I think it's important for a woman, I know one of the reasons why there's such a disconnect with this is because so many women have become conditioned to doing things on their own. So many women have had to operate independently and then struggle embracing interdependence in a relationship. Because interdependence is the ability to rely on each other, right? And allow each other to have that value in each other's lives. So for the woman who is very independent or conditioned to that, it can be very uncomfortable or difficult to let someone do for her. All right. And the reality is that usually isn't just a man thing, meaning she doesn't just struggle with letting men do for her. She tends to struggle with letting anyone do for her. All right. Which is why I always tell women, the independent woman typically ends up being the one in the family or the friend group where she's there for everyone, but doesn't have people she can rely on. Now, it's not always because she actually can't rely on them. It's just that everyone has become conditioned to the idea that she's okay. She got it. She's the strong one. But you're human. You're not Superwoman. Everyone gets tired. Everyone needs a break. Sometimes we need help. You need help. There's nothing wrong with that. So you've got to be comfortable in allowing people to pour into you in that way. I have to say, for some women, the blockage there is, well, if I let a man do for me, he will think I owe him something, right? Or he will think he has any kind of power or control over me. And it's like, listen, don't project that onto a man. If that is going to actually be the case, let him show his true colors. And when he does, you get rid of him. But you may be creating a problem that doesn't even exist there, because not every man who wants to do for you, provide for you, all these things is trying to control, manipulate, or expecting something in return. This is hitting my spirit, so I have to mention this. I see a lot of negative rhetoric online about like, oh, if you get with a man who pays your bills, or get with a man who's just going to give you money, he's just going to control you. Like, it's always jumping to this negative conclusion. It's like, yo, yes, are there men like that exist? Absolutely. Absolutely. But there are men who just genuinely, out of love, out of how they are wired, they want to do for the woman that they care about or are interested in. There's nothing malicious behind it or anything like that. And if you jump to those conclusions, you're going to create a negative environment unnecessarily. And you're going to miss out on a beautiful blessing because you keep thinking there has to be something nefarious behind his actions. And it's like, no, don't do that to yourself. So to get back to the point, learning how to make him feel valued. And I'll add this. One of those ways that can allow a man to feel valued in your life is ask for his advice. Getting his opinion on things. Showing that you care about his input and his perspective. Now, does it mean you have to do what he told you to do? No. but showing that you actually care and want to hear what he has to say, that can make him feel good. The same way for many of you, you would love if your man would just come talk to you about some of these things rather than just make his own decisions and do his own thing, because again, that can make you feel devalued. That can make you feel like you don't have a voice in his life. But his willingness to talk to you, consider your feelings, consider your perspective, can make you feel very loved, make you feel very happy, make you feel more secure. And that's a beautiful thing. All right, so I wanted to give you a bonus interesting way to turn a guy on emotionally. And that is knowing how to be a positive and loving woman. Okay? So there's a lot of good women out there. You may be a good woman, right? And when I say good woman, well-intentioned, kind, considerate, things of that nature. However, sometimes even a good woman is not always a positive woman, okay? So a lot of women may not be mindful or aware of the negative energy, the negative spirit they are carrying with them, whether that be due to unresolved trauma, whether that be to not taking good care of themselves. So, when you're not taking good care of yourself, you're going to be crankier, you're going to be a little bit more agitated, you're going to be a little more short with people, things of that nature. And you may not always realize how you're coming across. And so a negative woman is not what a man's going to be drawn to. Again, this is why there are tons of beautiful, amazingly good-looking women who still struggle in dating and relationships because they don't understand how difficult they are to deal with. They don't understand how negative they can be, right? And there's other reasons, but that is a very common thing. And sometimes it becomes common in someone's life because if you are very attractive or life has been easier for you as far as getting the attention of men or whatever, you may not be made aware of some of your shortcomings in certain areas because you'll have some men who are just happy to deal with that woman. But in reality, it's a huge roadblock to getting the love that one truly desires and ultimately deserves, right? And establishing a healthy, successful relationship. So a lot of women, and honestly, a lot of people in general, really have to take inventory on, do I exude positive energy? Do I know how to be a more positive person? Do I know how to express myself in a more calm, loving manner rather than just letting it fly, right? Because it's not what you say, but how you say it. And the more you can master those things, the more desirable you become, the better you'll be for yourself, all right? Because now you're not carrying around all that negative energy anymore, right? So you'll feel better, you'll become healthier, but yes, you will become more attractive emotionally because now as a man, I want to be around that positive energy. As a man, I want to come home to that positive energy. As a man, I understand that it's not easy to find this. So when I have it, I want to cherish it. I want to honor it. You know what I'm saying? Now, I know some of you might say, well, I am positive and that man ain't cherish or honor it. Now, listen, being all these things doesn't change the fact that you still have to be dealing with the right guy, or at least a guy with good intentions. All right. So understand that if you have been a positive woman, loving woman, make him feel valued, all these things I'm listing, but to you, it didn't work, right? Or was taken advantage of or whatever. The problem is not those qualities and taking that approach. It's the man you were dealing with. Do not stop doing those things. Stop dealing with that man. All right. Because there will be a man that appreciates it. Like there's a quote I just posted the other day where I believe I remember it correctly. It says, there's a man out there searching for everything you're giving to a man who doesn't appreciate it, or gave to a man who didn't appreciate it. All right. So trust and believe those things will be honored and loved and respected by the right person. So don't reject it, embrace it. Understand that positivity is needed in your life to make it better in every way that you can think of. Thank you for watching this video. I pray it was helpful to you. Be sure to watch this one over here on 7 great questions to ask a man in the early stages of dating. Some people just don't handle things. It's tough for them. And, you know, I always say before you react, wait till you give the person the opportunity to give you an answer.